$300 Yamaha Blaster. This one's a 2003, and it's missing a lot of parts, it looks like. So the seller stated that he was trying to rebuild the engine, and the crank, he said, was getting tight between the cases. So it looks like a newer crank in there, but he said it does not rotate very smooth. It's really, really tight, he said. So he kind of gave up on the project and said forget it. So it's basically all in parts. We're gonna have to piece this thing back together today and try to get this thing to run and drive. It came with a huge box of parts. I'm hoping everything's in there for the engine, but we'll see. And a bunch of extra spare parts as well. Looks like it's missing the ignition switch. Hopefully that's in the box of parts. All the plastics are kind of just falling off of it. It is a 2003, so it's a little nicer year for the Blast, but this one's gonna be a ton of work. I figured for 300 bucks, what's the worst that can happen? If we have to part it out, we'll part it out, but we're gonna try to get this thing up, running and driving today by the end of the video. Quick little walk around. Looks like it's missing the chain as well. Tires were studded at one point, so this was taken on the ice. I think this will be a nice little quad when it's all finished up. Alright, we got this thing in the garage. Let's start working on it. So here are all the parts that I came with. Let's see, we've got a side cover piece, the headlight, manual, and there's a bunch of parts in here like carbs and stuff like that. And then we've got the top end over here. You can see new top end, new rings, new piston. So hopefully we have all the parts we need here for this thing. It's not bolted in or anything. Alright, engine's out on the bench. This is what we're dealing with. So you can see the crank doesn't really spin too smoothly in there. It's a little, it gets tight right there. So it gets tight in a couple spots. Could be due to the clutch area too. We'll see. I'm gonna just take this off for now. I'll feel what that crank feels like here. So clutch basket has a couple little ridges on there, but it's not horrible. There's the counterbalance gear. Those were lined up. You can see two dots. I'll take the kickstart mechanism out of here. And we'll take the shifter shaft out for now. So we're probably gonna have to split the cases. Alright, let's feel it now. Yeah, I don't like the way that feels. It almost feels like the flywheel's getting caught on something. It feels like the flywheel's rubbing. Something's rubbing. Let's take the flywheel off. It doesn't have the washer. That could be a problem. See if we can pop that off. Yep. See if she pops off. Wasn't real tight on there actually. Flywheel isn't damaged. Was it hitting the bolts here? I don't know. Let's spin it over and see. It's pretty smooth now. That's weird. It's a little tight. So it's hitting right there. Let's just take the stator out. I want to see if the flywheel is fitting in there properly. Is it grinding on anything? So that's how that fits in there, like that. Yeah, it's still kind of crunchy. Alright, so the flywheel is spinning a little smoother now. I think we found the issue here. So what was happening was the screws here, right here, were pretty loose. So I think what happened was this might be a new flywheel or a new used one, and they transferred over the magnets to a different flywheel. So these are all brand new screws, and they're just like lightly hand tightened, and they weren't pulling these magnets in far enough, so that was scraping on the outside of the stator here. So we sucked them in, but now you can see that some of the screw is poking down past that. So what we have to do is shorten those screws just a little bit so that it doesn't hit, because now it's scraping on the screw just a little bit. So we're going to take off all these magnets one by one, clean them up, and then get these reinstalled. But that was the problem. Get behind there. Oh yeah, it's got, oh, look at that. That magnet's broken. That's probably not good. So a little piece of that magnet broke off. Got some of those chunks underneath there. Alright, now we're going to file down some of these screws and then get this replaced. But it looks like we probably need a new magnet for that. That doesn't look too good. It might still work, but you probably want to replace that. As soon as that splits like that, it usually reverses the polarity of the magnet on both sides. It becomes two separate magnets. Alright, took the second magnet off. That's all cracked too. So not looking too good. Alright, went ahead and ground down all the screws. All the magnets were good besides those two in there. So let's see if it's pretty smooth now. I mean, it's pretty dang smooth. Definitely better than it was. So I think that's gonna be good enough. We'll probably end up ordering a new flywheel anyway, because those magnets are broken. I don't even know if we're gonna get spark with that, but we'll see. But we're gonna tear apart the bottom end now. See if the transmission's put together correctly, see if the bearings were installed correctly, and get some new gasket maker on there. This kind of looks kind of crappy. That looks good. That was just barely on. It's a little grooved out spot. You've got your keyway. And then there's another one here too. Those were a little beat up in there. Looking good. I think that's pretty much it for that side. I think everything else can stay on. So now we can split the cases here. Well, maybe not. Yeah, you might need to split those. Sometimes they'll crack free. Other times it won't. There we go. It's breaking free. There we go. There we go. Got a Weisco crank in there. It looks brand new. A lot of gasket maker on there. Just check that over. Pin here. Your fork. It's going to say number 2 on it. Alright, that fork is labeled number 2. That goes on the shaft right here. Hope to see if these are all correct. Now this one, come out. The drum looks pretty good. Shift star looks good. Can probably take this whole thing out at this point. Alright, there we go. Here are the shift forks. Those look pretty decent. You've got 1 and 3 here. So 3 is further down. Take a look at the bearings. Crank bearing feels good. You know, the bearings feel really good. So we're going to peel off all the old gasket maker and then pull up a diagram and we'll see if this transmission is put together correctly. Alright, checking out the transmission here. Looking like all the teeth are pretty good. pretty decent. Checking this one out. The teeth are too bad. All right, we just checked out the transmission. All the gears are in the correct spot. Transmission looks perfect. So we're gonna go ahead and lube everything up here. Decent. Get these all lubed up. Alright, then we'll do the other side here. So I found something wrong with the crank. I had to pull the crank further this way because there was a pretty big gap between the crank and the case right there. So I pulled it in, probably 3 clicks, went boom, 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 and it clicked into place, and now we are equal distance here as the gap was over here. I think before it was pinching that crank in there. So we pulled it in there nice and tight. All right, that looks good. All right, so transmission, we'll go back in after we get our shift drum in. Go in here. Got the shift drum in, the transmission, and the shift forks. Now number 2 is going in. All right, transmission is completely back in. We put shift fork number 2 over here. Now as you can see, it spins smoothly, doesn't bind, and it's shifting. All right, let's get some gasket maker on here. We're using the fuel resistant kind. This is a little bit thinner than normal gasket maker. Everything's down, all the pins are in place, feels good. All right, here we go. Well, nobody reminded me to put the counterbalance in, so we had to tear it all back down, put that back in. But we got it all back together, all bolted down. Let's start assembling the clutch side. All right, counterbalance gear going on. We've got a new pin here. The old one was a little bit rough, so we can put this one in. Take my gloves off. There we go. We've got lock washer here. Something like that, and then your nut. All right, we're getting the crank gear on. We push the collar in there. We grease that up, push that in. Now we can get this gear on, and there's a dot here. It's gonna line up with the dot right there. So those have to line up. There we go. Right there. This one's got a flat side and a caved out side. So this side's gonna go up, flat side down, and then you've got your nut. All right, time for the clutch to go on. We've got the washer spacer back here. Clutch basket goes on next. drop into place just like that. Then you have your other washer that goes on, just like that. And your basket goes on. Lock washer goes on right here. And your nut. And we can get that torqued down. Alright, then we've got the clutch plates going on. So the thicker clutch plate goes on the back there. And you've got your plate that goes down, and then you've got your spring that goes against that plate. And then you've got your thinner clutch plate. And that's going to ride over the spring. Alright, now there's already a rod down in there, but we're missing the little ball bearing that goes between this rod and the rod already in there. So we can't get this on until we find that. We're going to go look in the parts bin and see if we can find one. But then that gets on there, and then the clutch springs go on, and then our bolts. Alright, whole clutch side of the engine is complete. Clutch looks like it's working great. So now we're going to move on to the cover. So it came with two covers. The other one had a big hole in it and it was welded. This one looks a lot better, so we're going to use this one. We're going to bypass the oil pump that's in here and run premix. So the oil pump has to come out of here. The oil pump is right here. I'm just going to take this off. Let's see, how does this come out of here? Should just pull through like that. Alright. I think that whole thing can be pressed through. We'll see. Alright, this piece was pressed in there. We got that out. We can put that off to the side. So the whole oil pump is out. Now we can come over here. We can clean up that surface a little bit. Use a little gasket maker. Let's see, I think it goes this way. Just like that. Get the two screws in. Now if you look from the other side, that's blocked off. So now we can install the cover. It's gonna go like this. We got the new seal right here. We're at the stator side. This is gonna go on just like this. Gonna fit in those grooves. Like that. These go all the way through. Just like that. We have the Woodruff key in there already. So just gonna go on just like this. Should slide right on here. like that. Alright, washer went in, and then your nut goes on. Alright, we're working on the top end right now. And this is the piston it came with. Here are the old rings, and it looks like we've got new rings for it, ring size we need. Hopefully it's the right size. And again, we're just trying to get this machine up and running today. We'll probably end up replacing the piston anyway. But yeah, you can see it's 66 millimeter. So this piston will work in here. It feels pretty good. We have the pin as well. We're missing the clips, it looks like. And then we have the roller bearing for the top end as well. So hopefully we can find some clips from an old piston we can use. Let's just get a measurement on the ring gap for the old rings. See what those are at. Yeah, those look a little bit big. You can see right there. We'll get a feeler gauge measurement just to make sure. They look to be at least 24 thousandths. Yeah, bigger than 24, so that ring is junk. Let's take a look at this ring. That one's a little bit smaller. That one's just 24, so that one's a little bit tighter. But we're supposed to be like 12 to 14 thousandths of an inch. So let's take a look at the new rings. See if those are any better. Let's see here. Oh yeah, much better. That's a nice tight ring gap there. Get a measurement, that looks almost to be probably 12 thousandths. Just slides in at 12 thousandths of an inch. That is perfect. Second ring here. Again, it looks to be 12 thousandths of an inch. Oh, that's even tighter than 12. That might be 11. Yeah, she's pretty tight. So that one's 11 thousandths. So pretty tight clearances there, which is good. At least they're not too big. But yeah, that looks pretty good. So we're gonna use those. We have to hone out the cylinder yet, and then we'll get this all cleaned up as well with some soapy water. We should have some nice cross hatches now. Oh, that looks really good. Alright, you can see the cross hatches now. This in. Alright, time to get the studs in. We're going to use a little blue Loctite. Twist those in. Drill. Actually spin these. Alright, stop spinning. Loosen these back up. And do the same for all of them. Get those lock into place. Alright, all these studs are in place. We've got the brand new head that came with it, all ready to go. And then all of our gaskets ready to go. So we can start assembling the top end here. Done. One way. Lube up these bearings here. A little bit in there. A little bit in the top end. We put the rings on the piston. Those are looking good. We can lube those up all the way around. We found a couple clips for the piston as well. One's already in there. The other one we'll put in after we put the piston on. Alright, we got the bolts torqued down for the cylinder. Let's rotate this over, see if it's smooth. Oh yeah. Very smooth, so now we can get the head on. Alright, torque spec for the head is 20 foot-pounds. Alright, now we're installing the reeds. We've got brand new gasket, reeds. Oh, that one's kind of cracked. Shoot, we're gonna look for a different one. See, that one's kind of cracked. I wonder if there's another reed cage in there. Alright, it looks like they bought some new reeds for this thing, so we're gonna change them out. I already did the one side over here. Looks like there's carbon fiber reeds. This one's not too bad, but we'll replace them with the carbon fiber. So here are the ones that we're going to replace them with. Alright, reeds are looking fresh now. You can see those are perfect, so we can reinstall those. Alright, now our gasket can go down. Which can go in. Alright, engine is finally complete. That took a long time to piece this thing together. I did not think we were going to have enough parts, but we ended up getting this thing all back together, and we had every single part. It was exciting digging through all these bins, trying to figure out where each part went, but we finally got it, and the engine is ready to go back in the frame here. So let's get the engine in and see if she fires up here. In here. Alright, so now a bolt needs to go through the mount right there, and then one underneath. Get these plugged in. So black and red to black and red. Green to green. White and red, white and red. There's a white and red there too. That one looks like it's white and red. They're kind of discolored, and this is yellow and red. Alright, that's all hooked up. I think what we're going to do now is see if we have spark. Alright, Kickstarter going on. Alright, spark plug for these things. BR8ES, had one laying around. Let's see if we have any spark here. Remember, the flywheel magnets were kind of broken, so I'm not really expecting spark, but we'll see. Kick it over. Oh yeah, there's spark. Can't believe there's spark. Alright, will it be enough to fire up though? So let's get our plug in. See if there's any compression. It's hard to kick over. Should be enough compression. Oh yeah. Plenty of compression. Alright, here's the carb it came with. Also came with a rebuild kit for the carb, so we'll see what's going on in here. See what this looks like. Alright, that's pretty clean in there. Ooh, she's a little dirty in there. Take that off. What's the main on this one? 135. I looked at the main and it's supposed to be a 230, so that's way off. I don't know if this is the correct carb for it, but that's the one that was in there. So we'll see. Take our float off. Needle. A lot of times these little O-rings are worn out in here. This is included in the rebuild kit, so we can just take that out and see what that looks like. So this should pull right out of here, and that O-ring is really worn. Alright, the pilot's way down in here. Let's try to get that out. Pilot's not coming out. Choke. Looks pretty good. Air screw. Take a peek at that. We are 1/2 turn out. And then the oil line is right here. That's blocked off. That's good. That was barely held in. Yeah, look how gunked up that is. So we're gonna get the ultrasonic cleaner out, let that thing sit for a little bit, and then we'll work on trying to get this pilot out. All right, I think we got the pilot to budge out of here. There we go. What size is that? Doesn't have a reading on it, but that came with a rebuild kit, so all the jets in here are the correct size, so we'll just replace them all. Alright, carbs out of the ultrasonic cleaner, looking pretty good. Got most of the gunk off. So we're going to put all the new jets in, and then we'll get this back onto the machine. Alright, carb is all attached, good to go. Let's get this fitted up. Alright, let's get this petcock off. Nothing's coming through, so gas is not flowing through it. I'm guessing that's completely plugged up. Seller included a new one. Ooh. Yeah, that's pretty gross. That is pretty gross. So, we'll put a new one on there. New one going on here. Alright, we've got a filter, some new gas line here. Let's get that fitted up. Alright, so it's gonna go right to there. So, barely need about that much. And we'll cut that in half, put the filter on. Just gonna go like that. Alright, new gas line, new filter, new petcock. Everything's looking pretty good. So fuel system is done. All right, we got the pipe fitted up with the silencer. It's all nice and tight on there. But we were missing the piece that clamps it to the engine here. So you can see there's two studs. There's supposed to be a piece right here, and then it's supposed to be clamped to there. For some reason that was missing it. So we just kind of took a clamp here and just kind of put that in place. I think that'll work somewhat for now until we can order up a new piece for that. But this thing's pretty much all together. We just have to get the plastics on and put some gas in it, oil in it, and attempt to fire this thing up. All right, finally time to add some oil. This takes 650 milliliters. A little bit more. Perfect. All right, 40 to 1 going in. Alright, let's see if the petcock works here. So we will turn this to on. Oh yeah, gas is flowing. Choke it, and we'll give it a couple kicks. See what happens here. Well, about 8 hours later, we're finally attempting the first start on this. This engine started basically in a box of pieces. So let's see if it's all pieced together correctly and if it fires up. Give it a couple kicks. Kick. Well, she fired up. Now we just have to tune it. You can hear it kind of breaking up now. I think it's that flywheel magnets causing issues. It seems like it's like inconsistent spark once it gets warmed up. Yeah, I don't think we're getting spark. It's sometimes sparking, sometimes not. And we're not getting a great reading. Plug doesn't look fouled out. Check for spark. Let's try kicking this thing over. Yeah, we're getting a little bit. Not sparking at the plug though. Alright, we put a new plug in and we're getting good spark. So I think the plug fouled out, which could be due to the flywheel magnets, but we'll see. See if this helps at all here. All right, new plug in it. Let's see if she fires up. Died again. Yeah, I think we keep on losing spark. Well, we're still getting spark. We should have it fire up. All right, we just did a compression test just to confirm, and we have about 125 PSI, and this thing's not even broken in yet, so that's pretty good. Typically these have like 130, so we're right in that range. So I don't know what's going on. It's gotta be the flywheel causing issues. Those magnets are broken in there. Maybe it's sparking at the wrong time or not enough spark. All right, we put some gas directly down the cylinder, just to confirm it's not gas. Well, unfortunately, we weren't able to take the first ride on this one today. I think the flywheel magnets being broken is causing weak spark and inconsistent spark. So it's hard to start, and then when it does start, it doesn't rev out all the way. And it's definitely due to the spark. You could hear it as soon as I started it up. It sounded kind of weird. So we'll order up a new flywheel for it. We gotta get the chain on. I do have the chain, and then the piece for the pipe so it hugs it to the engine. And then this thing's pretty much good to go, at least for the first ride. It is missing the headlight and the ignition switch, so we could order up those as well, but I don't know if I want to spend too much money since it's kind of a beater quad, and I only paid 300 bucks for it. But we might invest in it and make this thing look pretty good. The plastics in the seat aren't too bad. The seat has one little rip right there, which isn't a big deal. Plastics have a couple cracks in it, but it's not horrible, you know. Definitely a good beater quad. But yeah, next video we'll install the flywheel, install the chain, and we'll see if this one moves for the first time. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I know we weren't able to ride it, but at least we got to hear it fire up for the first time, even with the broken magnets, and I was happy with that. But this one took probably 9 hours to rebuild. It was definitely a challenge, digging through all these boxes, looking for the correct washers, the bolts, all the gears, the clutch. Everything was all messed up and in pieces, so I had to look at diagrams and piece this thing back together. Once we get that flywheel, it should be perfect. So I think we did pretty good today. Definitely a lot of work, but I think it will be worth it in the end. And we only paid 300 bucks for it, so I think that's a win in my book. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Stay tuned for next video, and until next time, we are